Trust isn't something most men hand over easily, especially not the ones who've been hurt before, disappointed before, or learned the hard way that opening up doesn't always end well. So when a man truly trusts you, completely, without reservation, it's actually a bigger deal than people realize, because it means he's chosen to lower defenses that took him a long time to build in the first place, sometimes years, sometimes built up from more than one disappointment along the way. Today, I'm breaking down the things men do when they trust you completely, plus a bonus sign at the end that quietly ties everything else together. Stay till the end, because number 4 is the one that's easiest to miss, even though it might be the most telling sign of all. Let's get into it. 1. He shows you his unfiltered self. This is usually the first sign, and it's simple, but it matters more than people give it credit for. Around people he doesn't fully trust, a man tends to manage his image a little, staying composed, polished, careful about what he shows, choosing his words, controlling his reactions. But around someone he genuinely trusts, that management drops entirely. He lets you see him tired, unimpressive, in a bad mood, silly, unfiltered in a way he'd never allow himself to be in front of people he's still trying to impress or keep at a distance. This isn't him losing interest or getting lazy, and it definitely isn't him taking you for granted. This is him feeling safe enough to stop performing altogether, which is honestly one of the purest signs of trust there is, because performing takes energy, constant awareness, constant management, and he's finally decided he doesn't need to spend any of that around you anymore. 2. He shares things he's never told anyone. Listen closely when he opens up about something that clearly hasn't been said out loud before. A fear, an insecurity, a piece of his past he doesn't usually talk about with anyone, not even people who've known him for years. You might even hear him say something like, "I've never told anyone this." And that sentence carries real weight, more than it might seem to on the surface. Sharing something for the first time isn't casual, and it isn't accidental. It means he's decided you're safe enough to hold something he's been protecting, sometimes for years, sometimes since long before you ever came into his life. A lot of men carry things quietly because they're not sure how they'll be received, whether they'll be judged, dismissed, or used against them later in an argument. When he hands you something that private, that's not a small moment. That's him actively choosing to trust you with a piece of himself most people never get to see, a piece he's kept locked away specifically because it felt too risky to hand to just anyone. 3. He lets you see him struggle. Pay attention to how he handles hard moments around you, not just good ones. Does he let you see him stressed, uncertain, admitting he doesn't have it all figured out, without immediately trying to fix his image right after? A lot of men are taught early on, sometimes without ever being told directly, to hide struggle, to appear capable and unshakable at all times, especially in front of someone they care about and want to impress. So when a man lets his struggle show around you instead of masking it or brushing past it quickly, that's significant. It means he's not worried you'll think less of him for it. It means he trusts that you'll stay, that you won't use a hard moment against him later, that being human around you is actually safe rather than something to be ashamed of. Letting someone witness your struggle requires real trust, because struggle is exactly the moment people are most afraid of being judged, and he's decided that fear doesn't apply to you. 4. He stops over-explaining himself. This is the one that's easy to miss, because it looks like nothing on the surface, but it might actually be the most telling sign on this entire list once you understand what it means. Early on, people tend to over-explain, justifying decisions, clarifying intentions, making sure absolutely nothing gets misread or misunderstood. But once real trust is established, that over-explaining fades away almost completely. He doesn't feel the need to constantly defend his actions or prove his intentions to you because he trusts that you already believe him, that you're not looking for reasons to doubt him or twist his words into something they weren't. That relaxed, unguarded communication, where he doesn't have to work overtime justifying every little thing he does or says, is a quiet but powerful sign that he trusts you're on his side, not building a case against him behind the scenes. 5. He gives you access to his real life. Notice whether you're actually part of his real, day-to-day world, not just a curated, highlight reel version of it. Does he include you in ordinary moments, not just special occasions dressed up for the outside world? Does he let you meet the people who matter, see the parts of his life that aren't polished or planned out in advance, the messy apartment, the bad mood after a long day, the unfiltered version of his routine? A man who doesn't fully trust someone tends to keep them at arm's length from his actual life, showing a managed, edited version instead, carefully curated to control what gets seen. A man who trusts you completely lets you in everywhere, the good, the mundane, the unfiltered, because he's not worried about what you'll find there or how you'll judge it. Full access to someone's real life is one of the clearest, most concrete signs of trust there is, because it requires him to stop controlling the narrative entirely. Bonus sign. He stops needing to win every disagreement. Here's a bonus sign worth mentioning, because it shows up specifically during conflict, which is often where trust gets tested the most. Early in a relationship, or with someone he doesn't fully trust, a man might feel the need to win every disagreement, to prove his point, to make sure he's not misunderstood or taken advantage of. But once real trust develops, that need to win fades. He becomes more willing to say, "You might be right," more willing to sit in an uncomfortable disagreement without needing to dominate it or come out on top. This shift happens because trust removes the fear that losing an argument means losing power in the relationship. He's not defending territory anymore. He's just trying to understand you, which is a completely different energy than trying to win. If he stopped needing to be right all the time, that's trust showing up in one of its quietest, most mature forms. Closing. So let's recap. He shows you his unfiltered self. He shares things he's never told anyone. He lets you see him struggle. He stops over-explaining himself. He gives you access to his real, everyday life. And he stops needing to win every disagreement, choosing understanding over defending his ego. None of this needs to be announced with a big declaration, because trust like this speaks quietly, through what he no longer feels the need to hide, defend, or control. If you're recognizing these signs, he's let you further in than most people ever get, and that's worth recognizing and protecting, because trust like that isn't handed out easily, and it shouldn't be taken lightly once it's given. Trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild. So if you're on the receiving end of this kind of trust, it's worth honoring it the same way he's chosen to extend it to you. If this helped you see things a little clearer, drop a like, subscribe for more relationship content every week, and let me know in the comments which one of these have you noticed in him. See you in the next video.